Okay, we left off in middle of Havdalah. We started getting into Samim, the candle, the reasons, why, how, who, what, when, where. But before that, the din is that once sundown comes, Shkia comes on Shabbos afternoon, you're not allowed to eat or drink anything except water. I mean, our custom is water, also not. But halachically, once sundown comes, you're not allowed to eat or drink anything. Unless, if you washed for hametzi before sundown, then you can continue eating as long as you want, for hours. Okay? But if you didn't wash, let's say you're just eating some cake or fruit or whatever, or fish, whatever. As if you didn't wash, then technically once you shkia, once sundown comes, which is 18 minutes after lich pension, so then you have to stop eating. There is a het in halacha that says you could drink water. Our custom is we don't even drink water. There are poskim that write, and this is a minig in many places, that up to a few minutes after shkia, if you didn't wash yet for hametzi, you can go wash even a few minutes after shkia. Okay, until it's 5 minutes, let's say, 10 minutes. You can still wash if you didn't wash before shkia. But once shkia comes, basically the obligation of Havdalah comes, and once the obligation of Havdalah comes, you're not allowed to eat or drink. Just like we learned before Kiddush, you're not allowed to eat or drink, so the same thing, you can't eat or drink before Havdalah. Now, interestingly, that doesn't apply to kids under bar and bas mitzvah. We learned by Kiddush also, any mitzvah which is connected, that the food itself is allowed, but the time of it is forbidden. Like Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, you're allowed to give a child food to eat, even though halachically an adult is not allowed to give a child non-kosher food. Because you're not allowed to eat it, you're not allowed to give it to them. Yet, as we know, parents give the food to the kids that need to eat. You give them food to eat. Now, how are you allowed to do that? So halacha says, because the food is kosher. It's the time that's forbidden to eat. The same thing before Kiddush and before Havdalah, it says, and the Rebbe also brings it down, but there's no chinuch on not eating food that's kosher, but if the time doesn't allow it. But obviously, if you have a 10-year-old, 11-year-old kid, you tell them, wait for Havdalah. But halachically, kids under bar and bas mitzvah are allowed to eat or drink before Kiddush, before Havdalah, as long as it's kosher. Okay, next is like this. So you have the Havdalah and Shmones, right? And then we learned that you have, we learned also the reason for that also. And then you have, now, you're not allowed to do malacha until you say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. Okay, then you could do malacha. But what happens if somebody wants to do malacha? I'll give you a simple example of this, which happens many times. Somebody is making, let's say, God forbid, somebody's in the middle of Shiva. So Shabbos, he comes to shul. But Saturday night, he wants to make a minyan for Ma'ariv in his house. The guy's on the 15th floor. Okay, so it's hard to schlep up there. So then, technically, even if you didn't daven Ma'ariv yet, when Shabbos is over, let's say an hour after candle lighting, okay? It's really before, but let's say an hour after candle lighting, Shabbos is over, you could say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. You can go in a car, and you could go up the elevator and so on and so forth. It's not a problem, even though you didn't have Ma'ariv, as long as you said Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. Therefore, those women, let's say, don't come to shul for Ma'ariv Saturday night, and they're not davening Ma'ariv, before they do anything which is forbidden to do, they need to say Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol. Now, even though you said Baruch HaMavdil ben Kodesh L'chol, it's still a custom, which is brought down in halacha, that you still don't do certain things. In other words, even though technically Shabbos is over, so you could write and you could, do whatever you want. You said Baruch HaMavdil, you said Atach Hanantanu. But there's a minig brought down that you don't do work that's forbidden to do on Chol HaMoed. In other words, many people, even though they heard Havdalah, will not write before they make Havdalah over a cup of wine. Once you make Havdalah of a cup of wine, then you could do a lot of things. But it's like they don't put up a laundry. It's things that you don't do Chol HaMoed. We try to avoid doing Chol HaMoed. So it's a minig, not halacha. It's a minig that you don't do those things before Havdalah. The Rebbe's father used to write that those that smoke shouldn't smoke before they make Havdalah over a cup of wine. Even though he said Baruch I'm talking about cigarettes, not other stuff. But they said Baruch HaMavdol, even though they said Baruch HaMavdol, the minig is, the Rebbe said in a Sikha once that even folding the talis should be done after Havdalah over the wine. Not, even though halachically Baruch HaMavdol Mekadosh L'chol, it's over, but there's a Sikha from the Rebbe that you should, the minig is to fold the talis after Havdalah. Again, it's a minig, it's not halacha, so I'm just mentioning it.
How about cell phones?
What? Cell phones. That's pikuach nefesh. Sorry to say, one second. Sorry to say that there's, I hope it stopped, but there was a while, it's very sad, that teenagers, I mean, so to speak, modern Orthodox teenagers, Shemesh Shabbos, everything, they would use their cell phones on Shabbos. They didn't do anything else, but cell phones. They tied texting, and and there's a name for them, I forgot what the name is. But they said it's mamish pikuach nefesh. They cannot live, it's a matter of life and death if they can't use, what did they do before cell phones? I don't know, we survived. But it's, yeah, so cell phones you can use, like Cholamayit, you can use a cell phone. You can use the cell phone once you said Baruch HaMavdol, not before. E-cigarettes is regular cigarettes, halachically. I mean, as far as that goes. What?
If you hear a brother in shul, your wife is a mother, she said, that's all you have to make a
Okay, so there's an argument in halacha if women are obligated in Havdalah. In other words, many opinions say the mitzvah of Kiddush that says Zocher Siyam Shabbos Sekasher to sanctify Shabbos is when it starts and when it ends. That is a biblical mitzvah for both. Some people say the biblical mitzvah is when Shabbos starts, not when it ends. It's only rabbinic. Okay? So there are opinions in halacha that want to say women don't have to hear Havdalah. The halacha is they do have to hear Havdalah. They must hear Havdalah. That's the halacha. So therefore, now the question is, if a husband heard Havdalah in shul and he was yaitza, he fulfilled the obligation of Havdalah, can he go home and make Havdalah for women? Okay? Now it's interesting to note that Ramah writes that women b'chlal shouldn't even make Havdalah for themselves. But that already, the Magen Avraham, I mean, everybody disagrees with the Ramah, and they hold women are allowed to make Havdalah for themselves. It's not any different than any other mitzvah women could do, even if they're not obligated in it, they could still do it. So the halacha is women could make Havdalah for themselves, they can even make Havdalah for other women. So the question is, a man that listened to Havdalah in shul, heard Havdalah in shul, can he make Havdalah for his wife who didn't hear Havdalah yet? So if you hold her obligated like men, so there's no question, even though he heard Havdalah, he can make Havdalah for them. But if you hold they're not obligated, so there are opinions in halacha that say you should not make for them. And the Alter Rebbe says that even though the halacha is that they're obligated in Havdalah biblically, and therefore the man could make for the women, even though he already heard in shul, he writes it's preferred, if possible, that they shouldn't make if they already heard Havdalah. So basically what it means is a man that has to go home and make Havdalah for his wife should not be yaitze, he should not fulfill his obligation of Havdalah in the shul. So when they make Havdalah, you should have in mind that he's not yaitze. But again, halachically, a lot of poskim rule, and that's really the halacha. Alter Rebbe says it's better that they shouldn't make, but halachically, you're allowed to make Havdalah for a wife even though you were yaitze in shul.
What's the reason if you didn't do Havdalah, say Baruch HaMavdil, you didn't say Baruch HaMavdil, you didn't halacha, you would have to repeat Shemona Esrei?
Because it says the reason, because then you show that you didn't even, it was mabish, no separation from Shabbos. So then you have to repeat the Shemona Esrei and say the Havdalah properly, the way it's supposed to be. Because you did malacha, so that shows that you didn't keep Shabbos. That's the reason given.
If you were to say, oh, Shabbos is over.
Shabbos is over is not saying that you're sanctifying Shabbos when it leaves. You have to use the word Havdalah.
You trying to say that there's like a hecker between the two?
Yeah.
When you say something like that, doesn't that show that there's a hecker?
Shabbos is over, you can mean, thank God I can use my cell phone. Or thank God I can go to the movies. Or thank God I can eat pizza. I mean, whatever. No, it has to be the word of Havdalah, because that's how you sanctify it. Like the word Kiddush, or Mizmor Shiliyim, Shabbos, something like that. But you have to actually say a Lashon of Havdalah. Okay, that's, now there's also a minig. In Shulchan Aruch it says, but nobody does this today. Shulchan Aruch it says, when you make Havdalah, you're supposed to pour the wine, overflow it, it even flows on the floor. But people don't do that. You do it, but no, by Havdalah, it's interesting, you overflow the becher. So this says in halacha, you're supposed to overflow the cup. In other words, even though halachically, if the cup is full to the top, it's full, right? You don't have to pour it over. By Havdalah, it's brought down in halacha, it's show, because the Gemara says, any house that doesn't pour wine like water, it doesn't see a bracha. So in the Yiddish, there's an expression of a full avach, meaning on a full week, we want to show that it's we're getting brachas, so we're pouring over the wine. By us, unofficially, the meaning Chabad, we do it by Kiddush also. But by Havdalah, that's already brought down that you're supposed to pour the wine in a way that even also it's a siman bracha. Because it depends why you're doing it. It's a good point. But you're doing it to show a siman bracha, so it's not wasting.
But if you wash your hands, then you can pour it back and drink it.
Say that again? I didn't hear.
It's clean.
What's clean? Your hands or the wine?
Yeah, then the wine goes over, and then we can drink it.
If you want to drink it, you can drink it.
So you pour it back in the cup.
You pour anyway off into the plate when you're extinguishing the candle.
You have to extinguish the fire with wine, or can you just put something on it?
In halacha it says that you're supposed to extinguish the candle with the wine of Havdalah. Okay, that means you pour the wine of Havdalah over the candle. But if you ever watched the videos of the Rebbe when he made Havdalah Saturday night, the Rebbe did not pour from the wine over the licht. He took the licht, you see it's clear in the video. He put it out in the plate and then he poured the wine. He extinguished the flame, not with the wine from the cup, whatever. In halacha it says that you're supposed to do it, pour from the becher of its big things in halacha.
Is there any problem with just putting something on it?
The minig is to extinguish it, to show it's all a sign of bracha. You know why people do this in the wine? Yeah, why do you do this? No, the minig. What's the minig? In halacha it says, in Shulchan Aruch it says, to show the chavivus, to show the preciousness of the mitzvah of Havdalah. You want to start a week, on a good note. So you do it like this. It says you take from the wine, you put it over your eyes. Then in Sfarim it says you put in your pockets a sisgula to get money during the week. But the pearl officially, the Chabad minig is we don't put it in our pockets, we don't put it in the back of the neck for the loose bone or whatever. What the Rebbe did was clear that he did it and he did just over his eyes, that was it, nowhere else.
And he wiped it right away.
He wiped it right away. Who wants, the wine is sticky.
Oh, and this year that Yom Kippur was on Shabbat, like the whole thing was using a pre-existing flame to do Havdalah.
It applies to even Yom Kippur Shabbos too.
And if you had lit a candle before and the wind blew it out, does it make any difference or it's not?
Where?
At home. Let's say you
And Yom Kippur?
before Yom Kippur.
We're not talking about Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a whole different story. It's not the regular Havdalah. Here, even Kitzur says, "V'reichetz be'einav lechivuv mitzvah." To show that you, the Alter Rebbe also says that. To bring it down, to show that you love the mitzvah, so you put it over your eyes. Then it says in Svarim, you put in your pockets, it's gula to get a lot of money or whatever it is. But now, the correct process, there's a lot of different customs even in halacha. The Alter Rebbe says in the Siddur one way and we don't do it that way, but when you hold the cup, let's say you're a right-handed person, okay, so left-handed everything is reversed. Well, let's say you're a right-handed person. So, Give me your cup. There you go. I'll give you back, don't worry. Okay, so you pick up the cup. Okay, the proper way of doing it by Havdalah. You pick it up in your right hand, if you're righty. Give it to the left, put it down in the palm of your hand. Okay? Then you say, Hine ka yishwasi, until the bracha, through the bracha Be'er Piagaf. Then in the Siddur, the Alter Rebbe says, you put the cup to the left hand, and then you take the psamim in your right hand, and you make the bracha Be'er Minei Psamim. Okay, then you put the cup back, and then you do the Be'er Meidayish. The pearl, what our custom is, that after Be'er Piagaf, we put down the cup. That's the minute that we do it. Then you put down the cup. And then you hold the psalm, the Rebbe used to hold it in both hands, and make the bracha Be'er Minei Psamim, and smell it. Now if somebody can't smell, what happens if you have a very bad cold, or you have sinuses or whatever, or you don't have a sense of smell, you'd skip the bracha Be'er Minei Psamim. And you can't smell it, because you can't, if you're not smelling it, then you're making a bracha in vain, Be'er Minei Psamim. If you can't smell it, then you don't make it. So if you have a bad cold, let's say you know you're not going to be able to smell it, then you don't make a bracha Be'er Minei Psamim. What? One second. Your question is too hard for me. Then you do, while the cup's still down, of course we do Be'er Meidayish, like we learned yesterday, both hands. Then we re-pick the cup, right, left, back down, and we say the last bracha. Then we drink up the cup right away.